we are in the series of wealth creation, about the wealth equation. This is a podcast and a channel meant for young professionals. All those who are joining in and those who are listening in. In this channel, I speak about things that I have discovered over the past 30 years of my work experience, and which I didn't know at the time when I was starting, and which I believe will be useful for young professionals who listen into this podcast, and will help them crash the learning curve and maybe make their lives richer and more fulfilling. So that's the purpose of the podcast. we only talk about things which are going to be useful and spread light, love and laughter, bring light, love and laughter in the lives of people who are joined with this. That's the purpose, that's the intent. Okay, so in the past two wealth equation podcasts, we talked about a bunch of things. So let me quickly talk about, just cover what is it that we have done till now. So if we review in the past two sessions, I'll just summarize. We said that being wealthy is about freedom. Fundamentally, it is the freedom to be, do, create and contribute what you wish. Being wealthy is not allowing money to be the criteria for your decision making of what you want to do, what you want to be, do, create or contribute. Where money is a servant and not a master. So it's about freedom fundamentally. So if you are able to do that, then you are wealthy. I also talked about that it does not matter how much you earn in order to be wealthy. If you earn, let's say, 5 lakh rupees per month, it does not mean that you will be wealthy in India also. What is extremely important is, and what is more important is, how much per month do you invest and how much money do you get to work for you. So the difference is people working for money versus getting money to work for you, working for people. Please note, we talked about the investments, and we talked about the equation which had the compounding effect, etc., which definitely showed that every 1,000 rupee that you invest is like a virtual servant who works for you while you sleep. That's the intention. Don't work for money, make money work for you. And that only happens when you invest. And it bears repetition again and again. I've spoken to a lot of people, and they are doing the same kind of mistakes that I did in my life. Putting in a lot of money in savings bank accounts or RDs or FDs and things like that, or in LICs and thinking that that's investment and so on and so forth. And we talked about why that is not a really great idea. Then we also talked about that passive income should not require a lot of time and energy. Being wealthy means that your passive income should be greater than what you need to spend or what your expenses are. But many people consider that if they've started a business, then that's passive income. That's not true. If something requires a lot of your time and energy and attention, then that's not passive. It is active income. And you truly become wealthy when your passive income is enough to take care of your needs. So you need to go there. We also talked about the fact that compounding works and you get exponential results only when you keep yourself invested. You may see very little difference, let's say for 27 times, but the 28th, the 29th or the 30th time, you will just make exponential amount because compounding works that way. So the longer you stay invested, the greater you make, the greater wealth you create. We also talked about in the second podcast that wealthy people use professionals to manage their money. So a lot of people think that, if they invest in stocks and the stocks are growing, then that's a great idea. My view is slightly different from this. And it is that, investing in stocks requires a lot of time and attention. If you want to do it well, then the only way you can do it well is if you give it a lot of time and attention. You need to study it. Else you run the risk of, burning your wealth or whatever it is that you have created. It may happen in other ways also. But if you are investing, then there are two ways to do about it. Either you become an expert in that, or you get some experts to work for you on this, and while you focus on things where you want to excel in. So if, let's say, for example, somebody is a cricketer or a painter, or let's say an accountant for that matter, or somebody who's a great project manager, should they be investing their time and energy on understanding different stocks and companies, or should they really invest their time and attention on becoming the best version of whatever it is that they want, that they are excelling in, or whatever field that they have chosen? So if you have chosen BI, for example, as a field, or you are chosen software engineering as a field, then you should excel in that, and your time and attention should go over there rather than studying about companies and so on and so forth. Now, so how do you get passive, how do you get your money to work for you? Is through passive investments, and we'll talk about what those tools are. Wealthy people, as I said, they do what they want to do. They have the freedom to be, do, create and contribute in whichever manner they want to do. And they use professionals who are trained, who are excellent and motivated, self-driven, to enhance or to make their money work for them. So they have professional managers who do it for them. Now the fact is, you also can do the same. Today, there are instruments which are available which allow you to do this. Okay, but we also talked about certain other things. When I was interacting with some folks, so people said that, okay, even if I start making 2 lakh rupees, let's say, after 20 years, that may not be enough. So the question is, when somebody says that, your passive income should be enough to take care of your needs, so you will naturally ask, how much should be my passive income so that it takes care of my needs as they are occurring or as they are developing? So how do you decide that? That's the question, right? So let's say, for example, I think the first step is to decide how much is it that you need for your expenses. Then figure out what should be the amount that you should be earning after through your passive income after, let's say, 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. How much should that be, and how do you determine what the value of that should be? Okay, so we talked about what is called the time value of money and the equation which determines that. I'm going to show my screen just a second, and we'll do this short exercise. So let's say you decide what is your expense today, and let's say you decide that basis whatever I know, my expenses today are, let's say, 30,000 rupees is enough. Now it may so happen that you will get married, or you're already married, or you'll get children, etc., etc. So you do an estimate. So expenses today, when I'm single, expense today, if I have a full family, let's say you decide that will be, let's say, 1 lakh rupees. Okay, these are just arbit figures. Now, this is today. So, I need to, let's say I have a work life of 20 years or 30 years. Then what should be the amount? Let's say I want to retire after 20 years. So what should be the amount that I should be generating every month in 20 years time if I want to retire in 20 years? I want to retire in, let's say, 20 years. So how much is the amount required per month? Month is required assuming same lifestyle. Now this requires one more input, which is what is the inflation rate, and it is expected to be, let's say, 6%. Assume, we range between 4% to 6%. Now if you are doing this, then what's the amount that is required? Now we know what is the equation. The equation is that future value of money is given by present value multiplied with 1 plus R upon 100, 1 plus, which is rate of interest is 6%. So 6% divided 6%, that's all, and raised to the power of, let's say, the number of years, so 20. So currently we are spending 1 lakh rupees. So therefore, what will be this after 20 years? So 1 lakh rupees, this is the expense. If it is 30, then you can do 30 multiplied with 1 plus 6% or raised to the power, let's say, 20 years. So this 1 lakh rupees the requirement will become 3,20,714 rupees after 20 years. What you are able to afford, assuming a 6% rate of interest, inflation. So if you are able, your expenses require 1 lakh rupees today, and you want to retire after 20 years, so you must have a passive income of 3,20,000 bucks after 20 years in order to be able to do this. So now you may ask, okay, that if I want to have 3,20,000 rupees after 20 years, what should be the corpus that I should be able to generate? Now assume that what corpus is required to generate 3.2 lakh rupees per month. Okay, now this depends on what is the return that your investment corpus will generate, and that in turn is dependent on the kind of instruments that you use. If you use gold, then it will give something else. If you use some index funds, or if you look at FD or RD will give you only maybe 6%, 7%, right? And that also will be taxable. So in case I want 7% on a monthly basis, then how much should be my corpus? So this, so the corpus amount should be equal to this divided by, let's say, 0.07%. This will be 7%, 45 lakh rupees, 45.81 lakh rupees to be generated on a monthly basis. So therefore, it should generate over an annum. You should have somewhere around 5.49 crore rupees, assuming 7%. But if, let's say, your corpus required, if your investment corpus of 5.49 crores is you are skillful enough to get, let's say, a 12% return per annum, then instead of 5.49 crore rupees, you require only 3.2 crore rupees in order to generate, let's say, 3.2 lakh rupees per month after 20 years. If, however, you are able to, if your corpus is something, you're skillful enough to generate 15%, then your requirement is only 2.56 crores, which is required to generate an expense of about 1 lakh rupees. So this is how you can do these figures. Of course, it will vary from person to person what it is that is required. But I guess this would have given you an idea about what to do. Okay. So I hope this was useful that you want to do when you want to plan, how much is it that you want to create. Now, so the question one was, how much do you need today and what will it mean tomorrow? That's what I've tried to address. The second set of questions is, what instruments are available for passive investment? And then, are investments not risky? Many people are afraid of getting into certain kind of investments, let's say stocks and bonds and things like that, or stocks or in the stock market, because they believe that it is like satta or it is very risky. So we should understand what is meant by risk. Many people think that FD and RD are risk free. And is that really true? Is there any time that FD or RD would also be very risky for you? The question is, okay, we know certain instruments, but which instrument should we choose? We talked about SIPs the last time. Do SIPs always work? In which case, are there any cases where an SIP will not work? Then, is a daily or a weekly SIP better than a monthly or a quarterly SIP? Those are some of the questions that we are going to talk about today. So hopefully, this is going to be, again, very useful and will give you the framework which you can apply in your while you are choosing your various kinds of stocks, okay, various kinds of instruments. So the first question is, what kind of instruments are available? Let me share my screen again, and we'll talk about. I think we talked about this the last time. Here are the instruments which we talked about. So there are SIPs that you can do. Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual. There's something called ETFs or exchange traded funds. There are mutual funds. There is equity linked saving schemes. There are retirement plans. There are REITs, gold ETFs, sovereign gold bonds. Now, in my view, all of these, the 7 and 8 gold ETFs and sovereign gold bonds are again things which young professionals should think about, in my view. Now, the fact is that I'm not really an expert, and I'm only giving my view. You can look up yourself, and if you're interested in gold as an asset class, there are people who want to use this asset class, gold. But rather than buying metal, it is better to use gold ETFs or sovereign gold bonds. They give a higher rate of return. Their expenses are lower, and it's a good investment. It's better investment than buying just gold. REITs are real estate related investment trusts. There are not many in India. There are plenty which are abroad, but yet I was looking this up when I was doing some research on this. So there are 3 or 4 which are available, but they are also fundamentally working like companies, and therefore, while they have given some great returns, there are not yet any mutual funds that I could find which are related to real estate or where there is a massive investment in, or most of it is in real estate. So I would guess that we will talk about these top 5 kind of instruments, and within that we must understand what is an ETF and what are mutual funds and what is the difference between the two. They're very, very similar, really. So mutual funds and ETFs, they're quite similar, but there's a very, very distinct difference. So both mutual funds and ETFs are created by a fund house or an asset management company. And there are many asset management companies. These could be by various banks like ICICI or HDFC or Kotak or Axis Bank or there are others, right? So Franklin Templeton, for example. There are many asset management companies which create this. ETFs are called exchange traded funds. So these are like really stocks. They are like a share of a company, but only it's not a share of a company, and one ETF unit represents a share in multiple companies, in a bucket of companies. So when you say a Nifty ETF or the Nifty 50 ETF, basically this ETF would be tracking almost like the top 50 companies which make up the NSE. So NSE or BSE, these are the top two exchanges. So when you say the Nifty 50, it is the NSE. The performance is measured through the top 50 companies in India which make up the NSE index. So when you have a Nifty 50 ETF, it's an ETF, a fund which tries to track very, very closely the same performance level that these 50 companies are doing. So when you invest in a Nifty 50 ETF, you're not investing in one, you're investing in all the 50 companies which make up the Nifty 50. So in that way, I prefer mutual funds and ETFs because there, while I might invest in a company which might even be in one of the top 50 companies, but there's a possibility that one of those companies could go bankrupt. We've seen, or they may lose a large amount of their value. So, like for example, there were cases like Yes Bank, for example. So Yes Bank was a part of the Nifty 50, I believe, and then it lost so much of value because of bad management practice. Anybody who had invested in this would have lost a lot of money. Now, the ETFs and mutual funds are good because they don't invest in one. It's a basket that they are investing. So even if one company does bad, the asset management company will quickly remove that company out. They have their own rules because they have to show their performance. The exchange itself, when it finds that some company like Yes Bank has done some malpractice, they will throw those companies out and they will replace it with something else. So the risk therefore reduces. There are other people who are quite smart looking into all of this. But the greatest risk is reduced because it's not in one company, but in the top 50 companies that you are investing in. So even if one falls, your index may fall by a small percentage. Will not fall by 99%. It may fall 10%, 20%, etc. But that would be by and large it. The difference between an ETF and a mutual fund is this. ETF is traded like a stock. You can buy and sell it anytime when the market is open. A mutual fund, however, you can buy only at the end of only once and during a day. The rate does not change or fluctuate during the day. It is only at the end of the day that the mutual fund rate gets revised. An ETF, the stock gets changed every minute or second and things like that. That's the major difference. So ETFs are far more liquid, but fundamentally they behave very, very similar to mutual funds. It is also true that ETFs, the cost of the ETF is supposed to be lower, of which the managers take for that. Apple to apple comparison, by and large. Okay, so which ETF or mutual fund should we choose? Okay, let's go and see. How do we go and see this? So first is, we must understand what is the index. So there are plenty of indices which are available. You go to nseindia.com, go to market data. In fact, I'll show you where to go. Go to NSE India, and then you go to market data, and then you can get, let's say, daily market reports, or you can go over here. Let's say it says view all indices.
Sorry, screen is not moving.
Huh?
Screen is not changed. It is still in the PPT.
Oh, okay. All right. Just hold on. So you go to nseindia.com, and this is NSE India is the National Stock Exchange. And you see over here, it says view all indices. You click here and you will find all indices listed here. So what are the broad market indices? You have the Nifty 50. These are the top 50 companies, and it shows what has happened to them. It shows the current value. It shows what happened to it 1 week ago, 1 month ago, 1 year ago. What is the 52-week high? What is the 52-week low? It gives the graph of what has happened today. If you just keep it over there, it also gives the 365-day change. how much has this grown over the last 365 days? So it is showing that the Nifty 50 has grown by 28.96% over the last 365 days. It's given that much, 29% returns. Last 30 days, it has grown by 2.82%. But it also gives Nifty Next 50. So, which is the next 50 companies. How much have they grown? You keep over here. It says the next 50 has grown by 58%. And last 30 days grown by 7.6%. Nifty 100, 33 and 3.68, and so on and so forth. You want this entire data available for you. You want to analyze this. You can download the CSV. Just click over here and you can download the CSV, which will show all the indices. And this is showing 30-day, what is the performance. You can select it and you can look at which are the indices which are given the maximum returns. Okay, you sort it and you go here and say 365 days, what is the maximum change? You can also do some other analysis. If you want only monthly, then you can look at that. Largest to smallest, what is the rate of return that you have got? So you look at this Nifty reality, which seems to have given about 126%. So while Nifty has given 28 or 29%, Nifty reality has given 126%. Nifty PSE has given almost 10%. CPSE has given 101%. So these represent, all of these indices represent certain set of companies. So reality is an index which looks at all real estate companies. This will have around 10 or 20, 10 or 15 this thing. PSE is public sector enterprises, really the government of India. CPSE is central public sector enterprises. PSE perhaps includes even the state public sector enterprises. Micro cap 250 companies, but which are micro cap, and they have given 94% rate of return. And PSU Bank, Nifty Energy. Nifty Energy is basically again all companies which are, or some selected companies which are related to energy. Energy is petrol, diesel, refineries, and so on and so forth. Alpha 50 is another 50 companies. They've given 81%. Small cap, 100 cap, small cap 50, small cap 100, and so on and so forth. Why am I showing these indices? Why? Because you are not limited to only the Nifty or the BSE index in choosing with the ETF. Now, each one of them may have some ETFs which are related to them. Like, for example, Nifty 200 Alpha 30 is an index which recently started, and it would have some ETF related to this. Okay, so you can do a search and figure out which is the which are the mutual funds which are tracking these indices, which are the ETFs which are tracking these indices. Now, you can go down and you will say there are large number which are giving even 50% returns and so on and so forth. So you are not limited. For example, Nifty Bank. Nifty Bank has given around 17%. Nifty Media has given again 16.87%. So your choice of the index. So there are mutual funds which are tracking only banks, and then they would return only about 17%. So your choice of the index matters. The choice of there are mutual funds which deliver great value, and there are mutual funds which don't deliver great value. A lot of people are happy with let's say 15% return, by and large. But imagine this: if you had, or I, by and large, had invested something in Nifty Reality, in less than a year, I would have doubled my corpus, which, but I didn't know at that time, and therefore I'm sharing. Now the Nifty Reality, however, I did this and tried to find, is there any mutual fund or ETF that tracks Nifty Reality? So I asked Gemini, which mutual fund or ETF tracks Nifty Reality? I'm interested, if they have given 100 110% or something like that. I want to know if there is something like that. So what does it say? It says there are no existing mutual funds or ETFs that directly track this thing. However, there are plans for launching an ETF that tracks Nifty Realty. Motilal Oswal has filed this thing, and also I saw Tata's have done this. So some of these are coming up, and they might be interesting. But one of the important things is Nifty Realty has shown dramatic results this past 1 year. But because there is no ETF which has been trending for the last 10 years or something, we don't have the last 10 years data for this. So do you want to take a punt on this? May not, depending on where you stand. But PSE, however, there will be mutual funds which are tracking Nifty PSE or CPSE, and you can look that up. This is just to give you some sense. Now, similarly, you can look at the performance over of various indices. This is Market Watch, where it is historical returns of mutual funds. You can look this up over here. Find a fund. Now there is something called direct plans and regular plans. You should know this. What a direct plan is and what a regular plan is. A regular plan is when you are going through an intermediary in between. A direct plan is when you are directly investing with an AMC. If you are directly investing or choosing the AMC, then the management costs are slightly lower. But some people choose regular plans because they trust the person through whom they are investing, and there will be some cost that you will need to pay for such people. Okay, we have seen these earlier. You can do your research over here and figure out which is the ETF. Let's say I tried to look at Realty, for example, Realty, and you find nothing. There's nothing which is available. But public sector funds or something like that, you will find something. Okay, so you'll need to do this and you will figure out which one is good. Over here, mutual funds, you have the 10-year returns. Anything which is giving consistently more than 20% is brilliant. But I would also say that if you don't have the mutual fund, ETFs are quite similar to doing, whether you use Zerodha or some of these discount broker firms. You can set up that every month you will buy an ETF and that will work like a mutual fund. So almost like passive investing, and all that you need to find is the right ETF. So I, for example, have an ETF in Nifty Alpha 50. I also have an ETF which is a Kotak ETF and which is called Kotak Alpha, which is available. I've invested. Okay, so similar ETFs you can find. All right. Now, one of the questions that I had asked and I had assumed was that it might be better to invest on a daily basis rather or do an SIP on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. Now, it turns out that that's not necessarily true. So I'll show you what I've done for you. I've done some work with two indices. One is Nifty. I've taken the daily close rates from January 23 to December. This is the closing from 18,197 on 2nd of January to 2023. It landed to 21,731 on the last day of December 23. That's how it grew. So I said, okay, what if I was doing daily investment, SIP, versus weekly, versus monthly at different points in time of the month, versus quarterly, versus half yearly? What kind of SIP is good? And this is only on Nifty that I did that. And I found that if I look at the total amount, whether I'm doing daily, monthly or quarterly, I've kept it constant at, let's say, 5,20,000 rupees over the full year. Okay, so over here there were total 246 days of active working. So actually you are in every transaction, every day you are investing 2,113.82 rupees. And I looked at what is the value at the end. You had invested 5,20,000. Your value at the end would become about 6 lakh rupees. So you earned about 15.4%. Okay, so Nifty is is there a possibility that Nifty ETF or mutual funds which are tracking Nifty 50, they can go down? Yes, no doubt, they can go down. But will they become zero? And the answer is no, because if it becomes zero, then it means that the top 50 companies in the country have become zero. It's a very unlikely scenario. That would require a nuclear weapon or a bomb to go off, and which wipes off everything. In which case, none of your investments are going to matter anyway. So, by the way, we asked this question: is there a time when you lose money with FD and RD? And yes, and the answer to that is yes, it's possibility. For example, look at Argentina, or for that matter, Turkey. If the government was giving an 8% return on the FD, and your inflation is 30%, or like in case of Argentina, 90% plus, then basically you are losing money. So it depends on the government. Today, we believe that getting an 8% is no risk money, and it's good because our inflation rates are about 6% or so, or between 4 to 6%. So getting 7-8% on FD seems to be still is slight positive. But compared to, let's say, if you could get 15% or 16%, even if it was taxable, it's far better. Okay, so I did this exercise. I did daily investment SIP, and my return percentage was 15.4%. Then I did weekly. I said, okay, once a week I am doing it. So instead of 2,000, it became 10,000 rupees, 52 weeks. So again, total amount I'm invested is same, 5,20,000. And these are the units that I gained every time I bought. How do I buy units? I divide 10,000 by this value. I got 0.54 units and so on and so forth. Total number of Nifty units that I accumulated were 27.59 if I do weekly SIP. If I done daily, it would be 27.60. But if I had done it at a different point in time on a monthly basis, then I would make 27.62. This is around the 7th. If I had done a monthly SIP, monthly SIP around the 14th would have given 27.51, which would be a 15% return, and so on and so forth. So around 21st, if I'd done, it would give 15.4. 28th, it would give 15.6. And similarly, if I do quarterly, it gives 16.2 if it is done in the first month. If I do it on February, start the quarter on the February, then it will give 15.6 and so on and so forth. So what does it mean? It means that if I do quarterly, the variation may depend on the timing that you are choosing. And know this, that you don't know whether you are investing it's a good time or a bad time. So you need to look at what is the variation. For example, you could do a quarterly investment starting March, and you would make only 14.2. If you started in January, you would make 16.2. So there's a huge amount of variation in when you are starting. So if you look at the frequency of the monthly one seems to be, if the consistency on a monthly investment seems to be quite good if you are doing on a monthly basis. And it's not too far off from, let's say, if you were to do it on a daily basis. So the plus minus on a daily, compared to a daily one is very, very minimal. So plus minus 0.4, 0.5%. Now, but it takes away your headache of looking at money on a daily basis and investing on a daily basis. Once a month, choose a date, and then you forget about it and let the market or your investment do what it does. So the second question I thought was, what am I recommending? What I'm saying is, there's no need to do a weekly or a daily SIP. A monthly is enough. What is important is to choose, however, what is the index that you are using, or ETF that you are using, or the mutual fund that you are using, rather than the frequency at which you are doing the SIP. So this is Nifty. It has given 15.3 returns. If you were to choose, and I did the same exercise with Nifty Realty. You will recall Nifty Realty had grown by 120%. So what do I get? I get a return of around 55% if I were to invest on a daily basis. the same amount. Instead of 15%, I get 55.4%. And you look at monthly, you get between 56.4 to 55.7. Again, it's quite consistent. So 54, 55 is a far greater number and a far better number. If you're chosen, let's say, Nifty Realty, you know for a fact that you couldn't have invested in Nifty Realty because there is no ETF or mutual fund which tracks that. But now soon there is going to be, Tata is coming up with one. I believe that HDFC is going to start something called HDFC Realty, and so on and so forth. So you can choose which are the places that you want to invest. You could have invested in PSC or something which looks at PSC funds, which is public sector enterprises, or CPSC, which is central public sector enterprises, if you believe in the central government. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share. Now, one more thing that I wanted to share was the importance of looking at taxes. So you should know ETF work? No. Will every mutual fund work? No. So the SIPs work basically because there is discipline and you are investing whether the market is going up or down. So you track when it goes down also, you get the benefit of averaging, and therefore your costs become lower, or you gain more units when the market goes down, and you actually make more money when the market goes down on the Nifty. So a lot of people actually do that. When the market goes down, they invest more. Okay, so there are rules like that, but I don't want to get into this. I think it's more important to choose the right fund or the ETF, the right manager, or the right people who will manage this fund, rather than doing things yourself. But again, while you are choosing this, understand what is the underlying commodity that the fund is tracking. So Nifty 50 is tracking the top 50 companies which make up the NSE index. Nifty Next 50 is tracking not the top 50 companies, but the 51st to the 100th company. So you know that they are still very large companies. They are not going to, go down easily. So your money is by and large safe. It may go down 10-15% at some point in time, in which case you invest more. That's how life goes. But let's say, for example, you invest in gold, or you invest in reality, or you invest in, let's say, something which tracks copper, for that matter. Is it possible that it can go down? Yes, it can. Let's say IT. Tomorrow something happens in US. A lot of our IT industry is dependent on US, for example. If US undergoes a recession or something happens to the dollar, can it go down? Absolutely. If there is an industry sector which is dependent on, let's say, China, or there is something which is dependent on minerals, the ETFs which are tracking that, or the mutual funds which are tracking that, they can go down. So it is very, very important to choose or understand what is the underlying commodity that is represented by that ETF or mutual fund, and what is the risk associated with that. Now, if you want absolute risk-free, by and large, NSE is good. When the market goes down, you will know that your investment value is also gone down. But typically, you would not see it going down by more than 15% or 20% or so. And then it will rise back again. You know that happened. Because NSE India is basically India. And you know that next 20 years, or next 10 years at least, India is going to dramatically grow. What if you had chosen, let's say, the Hang Seng Index or the Shanghai Index? There's entire possibility, given what is happening in China, contraction in real estate over there. 30% of their GDP is dependent on real estate, and the real estate is undergoing a crisis. If you had invested in the Shanghai Index, you would lose money there. So I would not risk that. India Nifty makes sense because I believe in India, that India is going to grow. Next 10 years, no doubt about it, almost 100% can bet is a significant sum on this. So anybody who is betting on FDs or things like that, go ahead and bet on NSE. It's an equivalent of India, or CPSE for that matter. That's Central Public Sector Enterprises, which is again the government of India. So you look at that. Very, very important. What is the underlying commodity? If the underlying commodity goes down, it's entirely possible that gold or energy, let's say, if the energy is petrol sector, tomorrow petrol falls, or something comes technology comes which replaces petrol or oil, then those will fall. So you should know what you are investing in. Okay, that's very, very important. And then look at past performance consistency. Past performance consistency only matters if you believe that the commodity that you have invested in, whether it is India or China or whatever. Oh, China, look at the past. Brilliant, right? It's grown 10%, 12% every year. But will I invest looking at just the past? Absolutely not. I won't invest. I won't touch China with a barge pole for a long period of time. You should know what is direct and regular. I talked about it. Administration costs, there are exit loads and entry loads. If you read it, let's say, for example, let's go there. Okay, so there is SBI Contra Fund Direct Plan Growth. Okay, just hold on. I will go back once again. It says this is direct plan, and then there will be something which will be called the regular plan. So you would see that everything. I had not looked at the regular plan because I just choose the right one myself. But that's what about me. You can choose differently. You want regular, it will give slightly lesser returns than direct plans. So this is SBI Contra Fund Direct, and you look at that the regular plan will give slightly lesser returns than the direct plan. It's slightly lesser, and it could be your choice. So I don't look at regular plans. I only go by direct plans. Now, if I click on this, it's a growth one. Then it talks about expense ratio. So it's charging on a daily basis 0.68%. The higher this is, it means your returns are going to be that much lower. What is the exit load? Perhaps it does not have anything, or it does not show over here. And it talks more about this. What are the returns that it has given? It shows that in this scheme, it is given 49.42% return, while similar things have given 39.71. The benchmark, the category average is 47.33%. It's given only largely about 2%. And then it gives other things, gives where it has put in money, etc., etc. But wherever you so I don't know how to invest through money control, but wherever let's say I am using and invest, wherever I put in, apart from the expense ratio, they will also give what is called the exit load. So which is the percentage that you need to pay in case you are exiting from when you're selling the fund. Now, in most cases, if you spend, let's say, more than 15 days or 1 year, the exit load is zero. But sometimes it might be different. So you should know how much this is. Okay. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was taxes. Okay, these are again something which is similar. You should know what is meant by taxes and what kind of taxes apply for the instruments that you are using. Now, since I am talking about only the taxes related to ETFs and mutual funds, they are subject to those which govern the stock market and stock market trade. So if you sell something within 12 months, whether it's a mutual fund or an ETF, it is considered as short-term capital gains tax. You might have made a loss or you make any profit. So if you make a profit, it's considered as short-term capital gains. They are charged currently at 15%. If it is more than 12 months, then it is considered as a long-term capital gains tax, and that's the tax is charged at 10%. So it's also important for you to understand that long terms, if it is long-term capital gains, then it is the tax percentage is 33% lesser than if it is short-term. The other thing is, let's say I'm putting my money in you must understand what the implication of this is. Let's say I've put in money in, let's say 3 lakh rupees, and every year it is giving me 30% or 33% returns. Should I continue to stay invested? Now, I had myself said that, staying invested is a good idea. But should I never sell this mutual fund or this ETF that I am invested in? The answer is no. I should sell. Why? Again, because of the tax rules. So the tax rules say that long-term capital gains tax is 10%, but 1 lakh rupees is free, is not taxed. Capital gains of 1 lakh rupees up to 1 lakh rupees is not taxed. So therefore, if every year I was generating 1 lakh rupees as my capital gains, if I sell it on the 13th month, I pay 0 tax on it. But if, let us say, I had kept this every 3 years, different schemes, I pay this every, I kept this for 3 years, my total value would have become 3 lakh rupees, and then I would have paid 10% on 3 lakh rupees that after 3 years, I would have paid 30,000 rupees as taxes on that after 3 years. But if I had sold it every year, then I would pay 0 taxes. So in 3 years' time, I paid no tax. And this is as per the rules of the government. So we must know what the rules apply, what are the rules, and therefore optimize the taxes for us. All right, so I hope this was useful and this would add value. Some of the things that we have talked about or shared over here would add value and would give you the tools and the instruments through which you can become wealthy and, more importantly, free to be who you want to be, to do what you want to do, to create what you want to create, and be free of having money as a master in your life. Surya Jaswi Nava. I salute the people who are brilliant as the sun and who joined over here. Make the right choices. Thank you. Bye-bye.